Coming up on CTV News tonight, the latest updates from Sarah and the Quake families to meet with the Attorney General this weekend. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Rob Cope-Williams. Sarah today announced a new assistance centre will be opening in the eastern suburbs to help Quake-hit residents move on with their lives. Emily Cooper has more.
As the anniversary of the September quake approaches, things are starting to move quicker for residents living in residential red zones. From tomorrow, residents will receive their letters of offer from the government. Sarah today announced an earthquake assistance centre in the eastern suburbs on Wainoni Road, which will have representatives from Sarah, the Christchurch City Council, Community Law Canterbury, the EQC and various insurance companies to help people make decisions and help guide them through the process.
Which is a place for people who have are receiving offers, who do have big decisions to make in their lives, to come along and get further information.
Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee says a large amount of people have already taken the offer, around 85%, an indication people want to move on with their lives.
So those offers are going out from today, and in those offers there'll be the individual amount and the arrangements for people to consider. I think it's fair to say that when the consent forms went out a couple of weeks ago, we still expected that people would take a period of time to respond to those, but we've had 3,069 of those forms come into a state that's sufficient for them to get the offer documentation from today. That represents about 85% of the total of people who are affected in that first tranche of houses.
As of today, 4,063 consents have been received and returned to Sarah. Of that, 3,591 have been entered into the system and offer documents will be coming out. 47 applications have been requested to be fast-tracked for those with hardships such as illnesses. People will receive 2 documents.
Firstly, answers to your questions, and third is the purchase offer with supporting information.
Minister Brownlee says these documents will help put the information into straightforward terms.
We still believe the offers are very fair. While people might talk about a gap between the money that they get for their property and what it costs them, that is quite a different problem and quite a different proposition from the preservation of the equity that people have in the property that's damaged. And our view is strongly that the valuations that we have chosen, that is the latest rating valuation, does stack up well. The Valuer General confirms that, as does the New Zealand Valuers Organisation. So it's never easy in these circumstances, it's always difficult, but in the end, getting into a position where you can move forward is what's most important.
With Kaipoi's land announcement yesterday, Minister Brownlee says it's the largest land purchase ever.
If you include the Kaipoi numbers that were out yesterday, this is a very, very big property transaction. Because it is over 5,500, in fact, individual contracts, it makes it a very big undertaking, and the Sarah organisation will commit to move as quickly as possible given the rather large numbers who appear to want to move on pretty quickly.
Sarah also outlined an 8-step process residents will take when taking the government's offer to purchase their land or house and land.
As the Minister said, more than 3,000 returned their consent forms. We're sending out at the moment. We're couriering to the people these, if you like, the purchase offer documentation. They then need to take advice from whoever they can about what they're going to do next. They're going to need to get a lawyer involved, and as we've said already, that we're giving financial support on those legal fees. They then decide which of the 2 offers they're going to accept, and that we've set up on that flow chart. That's about a lawyer, but there will be other people they'll want to consider as well. They're going to choose a settlement date, and then the lawyer will then submit to us, if you like, their completed offer document. We then go a process of checking what they've sent to us. We pay them a deposit in many cases, and then finally we're going to actually have to go out and, if you like, take possession of the home.
If you have not received an offer document or any other correspondence from Sarah by the middle of next week, you can call 0800 74 64 2372.
The families of February's quake victims have been struggling to get financial and legal support from the government to be represented at the inquest for months now. But this weekend, the families will finally get the chance to meet with the Attorney-General. Prime Minister John Key believes this is a big step for the families.
Families of February's quake victims will finally get a chance to meet with Attorney-General Chris Finlayson on Sunday. The 53 families are still fighting to get government funding for legal representation at the inquiry into the collapse of the CTV and PGC buildings. Some family members say that Prime Minister John Key went back on his promise that he made to them in the days following the quake that the government would completely support them.
What I said to the families in a general basis was, look, we're here to help you and support you as best we can. We believe we are. We're conscious of the fact that some families would want legal representation. We're not ruling that out. But what we have said is it's important to understand the process, that it's not always well understood by people. I mean, the Royal Commission is not an adversarial process. It's a process where you gain information. There's legal counsel that assists the Royal Commission, and that legal counsel is available to the families. There's a liaison officer that's working very closely with them. The Attorney-General will be meeting with them. But look, at the end of the day, if it's decided that legal counsel is required for those families, then I'm sure the government will step up and support them.
The Quake family's lawyer, Grant Cameron, who was also the lawyer for the Cave Creek and Pike River tragedies, has likened their plight to that of the families of Cave Creek and Pike River, who received government support. But Prime Minister Key says the tragedies are not the same and compares it to an international disaster, the Victorian bushfires.
The best example we can see is with Victoria, and in the Victorian Royal Commission, actually the families didn't have legal representation because it was deemed that wasn't to be the most necessary or best thing.
Prime Minister Key says having a lawyer for the families will not make a difference.
We try and do things that are in the best interest of everyone, including the taxpayer who's paying the bill, and ultimately the individual parties in question. If we're just doing things for public relations exercises, then I think we've got the wrong agenda. I mean, you're talking about if you're having to fund a lot of lawyers, then you've got to be proving that it's actually going to make a difference. If it's going to make a difference, and if it's really important, then the government will look closely at it. But actually, as I say, the Royal Commission is not an adversarial process, and there is legal counsel that can help those families.
He says meeting with the Attorney-General will be the next step in the process for the families.
We have huge sympathy for these families. They've lost their loved ones in the earthquake. It's not a question of cash. I mean, at the end of the day, the government's put billions and billions of dollars into Christchurch. It's just that that process isn't typically one where you have those representations. I think it's a matter of working our way through it logically. We don't believe it would add a lot of value, and we think that the legal counsel that's assisting the Royal Commission can assist the families. But the Attorney-General will meet with them and talk to them about it.
Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee, Civil Defence Minister David Carter and Conservation Minister Kate Wilkinson are also expected to be at the meeting on Sunday. Minister Brownlee reiterates the fact that nothing will be hidden, as the government wants to find out why the buildings failed just as much as the families.
Well, I think it's important that the families are reassured that the government does want a good result out of this, that there's nothing to be hidden, and that we want to know everything that we can about why those buildings collapsed. Where there's been loss of life, it's in everyone's interest to know exactly what happened. Of course, families want that information, and we do too.
One Quake family spokesman says the families also want legal representation to help them understand the legal process. Minister Brownlee says they can be reassured the inquest will leave no stone unturned.
Well, firstly, this is a commission of inquiry. It's an inquisitorial body. The reason it's being set up is because of the very concerns that the families have. We want to know why did those buildings collapse, and we want to know if there were any particular responsibilities that should have been exercised that may have prevented this tragedy occurring. We're doing all that against the backdrop of it being a very significant earthquake, but no stone is left unturned. So the families' interests are very much represented as the core of the inquiry.
And we'll have an update next week on the outcome of Sunday's meeting.
It's been announced that another major Christchurch hotel is set to come down. The Crown Plaza on the corner of Durham and Kilmore Streets has been condemned. leaving the future uncertain for its staff. IHG, who owns the hotel, said the company is committed to keeping something in Christchurch in the future. The hotel joins the Hotel Grand Chancellor and the Copthorne Hotel, also in Durham Street, on the demolition list. Coming up after the break, upset over a proposed liquor store. Welcome back. Islay and Upper Riccarton residents would lead the South Island's first alcohol protest march tomorrow over concerns of a new Henry's liquor store outlet on the corner of Avonhead and Yaldhurst Roads.
Imperial Discount Liquor Limited have ambitious plans for this old BP station, a new Henry's liquor store, but they have broad opposition.
The residents don't want another liquor outlet, because we've got 10 or up to 10 already in the area.
In a statement, Foodstuffs said the site has been chosen due to its proximity to other retailers on Yaldhurst Road and will offer locals more convenience when shopping in the area. But those retailers are also situated around schools and preschools, Kindercare being right across the road from the new Henry's site.
There are 4 preschools right within very close proximity to where the site will be, and there's the primary school, Avonhead Primary School, and other secondary schools.
Those schools have expressed concern, and experts say selling a Class B drug around them is not acceptable.
The more you've got these stores, these liquor stores in the neighbourhoods where these children walk past every day, the more the message is getting through to those children that this is a product that's vital for life, when in fact that is almost the opposite message we should be giving our children.
But it's not just about the close proximity to the schools or even the students it would attract.
It's the mess that goes with it, and the retailers don't have to clear up the mess. You've got broken bottles, and for the cyclists it's a nightmare.
Foodstuffs say they appreciate the retail of liquor is an ongoing topic of interest, and they work to ensure all stores adhere to current legislation. But experts say that legislation is not up to scratch.
The government has had the Law Commission's review for 16 months and has done nothing about it. And even what they are proposing to do is very weak in terms of the heavy drinking culture.
Being an Islay resident himself, he would like to see that changed. As for the other residents, they want to have more of a say in the hearing process.
I think it's unfair, and it's an insult to the community to expect them to tolerate that. And we're having the march because we don't have a legal way of objecting.
The protest, a small step in the right direction, and hope to be inspiration and encouragement to others.
I think communities right across New Zealand are starting to wake up and actually realise that they're going to have to do something in order to wake up our government.
An alarm that will sound very strongly tomorrow morning.
New laws with respect to gifting assets has just been announced. The present law will change on October the 1st, which will be a big plus, particularly for farming families.
Well, I suppose for farmers, given the value of their asset, the confirmation that gift duty is definitely going to be abolished. There's been some minor uncertainty, but the bill was passed by Parliament last night, so and unchanged from that which in its original bill form. So it'll become an act as soon as the Governor-General assents to it. So that's probably the biggest news of significance, and you will know from my perspective of previous discussions, it's in my opinion long overdue. I took out some figures a few days ago. It was raising about $1 million in tax revenue, gift duty. It was costing the government in administration costs about $430,000, so it was making a profit, if you like to look at it that way, of about $700,000 for the government. But the cost to the taxpayer was a massive $70 million. So we as taxpayers were enduring a $70 million cost to provide the government with $700,000. So it was so long overdue, it's just ridiculous.
So now that's been abolished?
From the 1st of October.
And so you can gift any amount at all? to
Yes.
anybody you want without
Yes.
there being any penalties.
Yes.
That's going to be huge for the farming world.
I believe so. It's going to simplify things for them anyway, because there's been this compliance cost of working their way around the gifting situation. It makes simple things like succession so much better. I think most of our rural people still cling to the tradition of handing the farm on to the next generation. That's been a bit of a minefield in the last 50 or 100 years, but it's no longer going to be the case. Well, there'll be other issues, of course, but the problem of being able to just hand it over or to strike some arrangement between the members of the family is much simplified.
Those people who have been paying their 27 or 29, whatever it is, a year, do they stop doing that now, or what happens?
27,000, Rob, and, well, they won't need to do it anymore. Some of the legal fraternity are suggesting that there is merit in doing one last strike and gifting everything that you might want to gift in one hit on the 2nd of October, I suppose it would be. But I have some reservations about that. In the majority of cases, it's fair to say that most of the gifting has evolved or been centred around the family trust. Now, for a new trust, it'll be very much simpler, because if I have a farm and I'm setting up, and I own the farm and I set up a new trust because I want to do that for any other number of reasons, I can now gift the whole farm to the trust one hit. Or I can't, not now, but on the 2nd of October I can.
Exactly. Yep.
So I won't need to go through this pseudo-sale process and a long debt forgiveness program and all that sort of thing.
Welcome back. Roller derby is relatively new to Christchurch, but the all-female contact sport is proving popular. Now, 3 teams are getting ready to take on each other at the CBS Arena for a bout night on October the 8th.
They're mothers, teachers, professionals in their fields. But when the work clothes come off, the skates, pads and fishnet stockings go on. This is roller derby, and the city's roller girls are preparing to face off in the Dead End Derby League's Derby Day Out on October the 8th at the CBS Arena. The Carnage Academy team, holders of the Tequila Mockingbird Cup, is preparing to defend its title against fellow teams the Filthy Habits and the Cell Block Brawlers. In a game or bout, players called jammers score points by skating past the other team's blockers, who try to help their own jammer through while blocking the opposition. There's a definite theatrical aspect to the fast-paced sport, with the costumes, alter egos and attitude.
Half the girls I don't even know their real name, so it's just always been part of it. It's entertainment and it's a sport, so it's everything.
As with many city sports clubs, the Quakes have made things difficult for Dead End Derby, with their normal venue, Cowles Stadium, out of action. But the athletes have shown their commitment, willing to go anywhere at any time to keep training.
2 days a week, all the girls have to travel down to Ralston, which is kind of a long drive. It's a bit of petrol. We get back late at night on Monday. I don't get home till about 11 o'clock after derby training. So all the girls are pretty committed, though. I mean, we're going to get through it, and we're just happy that we've got a season, we've got a place to train, and now we've got a place to hold the Derby Day Out, our big season bout.
Their season is being condensed into a day, which also includes a Derby boot camp hosted by the New Zealand team and a Derby 101 beginners class. And with capacity crowds the norm at their 1,200-seat Cowles Stadium bouts, the ladies are looking forward to putting on a big show at the 5,000-seat CBS Arena.
Carnage rules!
Citizens Advice Awareness Week is coming up. Ken Dunning from the Citizens Advice Bureau says guest speakers will be involved this year, and the Bureau is gaining traction and are teaming up with other associations.
We've had a lot of talk about people staying warm again. Obviously, that's come in a lot of places where they can go and get heating. There's been a couple of days where we were closed, so we were closed Monday and Tuesday. We're reopened now. But yeah, a lot of calls from that Western Suburbs area and regarding some employment issues with people not sure whether with Monday whether they're entitled to paid leave or sick leave or those kind of things that usually do come up. But again, they also vary on your contracts.
Okay, yeah, so what does happen in that situation? I mean, people can't get to work in the snow. They literally cannot get out of their house. What happens?
It does come back to various on their contracts. I know of one contract where they were paid holiday pay, which is fair enough. But also, again, it just comes back to those deals. There were some places that were paying, they didn't pay sick pay or holiday pay. They just paid their normal wages, which, given the circumstances with Mother Nature that we've had in the last 12 months, has been very good for some employees. I think most employees now around Christchurch are pretty understanding and are pretty level-headed, especially with these kind of events. They know that they're going to be shut down for a couple of days, and they know it impacts on the economy, if you like, of Canterbury and Christchurch. So they're pretty understanding on the whole. At this stage, no big complaints.
And that's CTV News. I'm Rob Gope-Williams.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.